In a quiet corner today, I've come to a spot that's as peaceful as any you could expect to find in the great metropolis of London. With views away to the City, Canary Wharf and Crystal Palace, all the hustle and bustle of the city is away from me. Certainly in this spot, I'm not going to be disturbed by the neighbours. That's because I'm in a cemetery. The purpose of my visit? To pay tribute to some of the fallen of the First World War, commemorated here at the Great War Heroes Corner in Greenwich Cemetery, and to solve something of a mystery. We're more than familiar with the massive burial grounds that occupy corners of northern France and Belgium. So sometimes it's forgotten that as many as 200,000 soldiers of the First World War are actually buried here in the UK, in cemeteries like this at Greenwich or in village churchyards dotted around the country. And this very fine memorial really brings that point home, because buried here in Greenwich Cemetery are 556 of the fallen. But that's our mystery. Why is there such a concentration of burials in this corner of southeast London? The answer, I believe, lies a short distance away at the former military hospital, the Royal Herbert. You see, these are the soldiers who were seriously injured on the front line, suffering the likes of shrapnel wounds, loss of limbs, or the cruel effects of mustard gas attacks. Treated initially in the various field hospitals, they were then transferred to specially adapted hospital trains and then repatriated back to the care of military hospitals such as the Royal Herbert. At first there must have been a great sense of relief. These chaps had exchanged the filth and squalor of the trenches for light and airy wards, clean white sheets and the best nursing available. Soon, though, they were battling a new enemy and facing the onslaught of disease and infection. Gangrene, pneumonia, conditions which were just about treatable, but if lives were to be saved, required the kind of medicines and antibiotics that were simply decades away from development. At the end, for these poor souls, all that was available was a degree of comfort and sympathy. And here their names are recorded on these sad bronze panels, entirely in alphabetical order, no difference between rank or grade. Death, after all, is the great equalizer. Most poignant, I find, are the names of those who clearly lingered for a long time. Rifleman Baggs dies the 24th of April 1919 as a result of his wounds. Private Radley dies several days later as a result of pneumonia. And even later still, Lance Bombardier Wolfe, the result of a gas attack in France. I suppose at the end, at least they had the consolation of being close to their homes and their families. There are, however, buried here those who died many thousands of miles away from their loved ones, the soldiers of the Commonwealth. In this cluster of some 40 individual graves, I'm reminded that this really was a world war. Volunteers are buried here from all four corners of the British Empire, from Australia, New Zealand, Private J. White from Canada, and Private Manson from South Africa. These two almost certainly never met, but for nearly a century now they've been neighbours here in this quiet corner of Greenwich. Their graves maintained meticulously by that noble invention the Commonwealth War Graves Commission. The events of 100 years ago can sometimes seem like the distant past, but to spend time in a quiet corner like this is to be instantly reconnected with that past, to be reminded that we must never forget.